Hi, good morning everyone. We are very happy and excited to be here with all of you. So this is our very first time in Vietnam, and we are really happy to meet the local community here, and be happy to chat with any of you who's interested in meeting us today, and also hopefully see some of you tomorrow as well on the Upstream Institute training. If you're interested in how to contribute to any of the OpenStack Foundation projects, we are happy to help you. With that, we will start with introductions so you know who you are talking to. My name is Iliko Vancha. I've been working for the OpenStack Foundation for a bit more than 3 years now. I'm working, contributing to OpenStack for, oh my god, 5 years or 6? A long time now. I think it's almost 6 years. End of this year, I think I started in the Ice House release, which was a long time ago. And I used to work for Ericsson before I joined the foundation, so that is where I met OpenStack. And I started to contribute to the Salander project, kind of understanding metering and monitoring a little more. And I became a core reviewer there. Basically, that is my first journey with open source as well, not just OpenStack itself. And I was so lucky to find a mentor in the Salander project who helped me to understand how open source works, how the community works, how to contribute, how the tools work, and all these kind of things. And from there, I participated in a couple of projects like documentation or Nova and Cinder to lead some cross-project feature development work as well. I have some telecommunications background, but I was basically working on the cloud platform with Ericsson as well, so I have a deeper understanding around virtualization and cloud technology and how that works or doesn't work in a telecommunication environment. And so far, I'm having an amazing journey with OpenStack and our other OSF projects. I shifted over, well, not necessarily shifted over, but along with Telecom and NFV, I'm also working with edge computing these days. I'm one of the leaders of our edge computing group, which is a working group under the OpenStack Foundation umbrella, and I'm also a community manager for Starting X. I have a talk in the afternoon about the Starting X project if you are interested in deeper details, and I will also touch base on it a little later after Kendall.
Right. So I am Kendall Nelson. I am an upstream developer advocate for the OpenStack Foundation. I started at the foundation about the same time as Ildiko, so it's been about 3 years. Before that, I started working on OpenStack originally for IBM. And I started with a primary focus on Cinder, the block storage project, and OS Brick before moving on to other projects. Since starting at the foundation, a lot of my focus has been more on the community and more higher level projects. So I've gotten involved in the release management team and I help coordinate the releases. Training will be coming to you soon. I do a lot of work on documentation to make contribution easier for new contributors. So I focus on helping with Upstream Institute, which has been mentioned a few times now, and the tools that we use during that training, the slides with all the exercises are in the documentation, and our contributor guide, which has descriptions of all of the tools we use as a community and all of the things that you need to get started. I also focus a lot on making contribution more fun, so I help coordinate the community contributor awards and do other things along that as well. Help organize the fun events at the PTG and events like that. So if you have any questions about any of that, please feel free to come ask me throughout the day, or if you're going to be at the training tomorrow, I look forward to meeting you. All right, so the OpenStack Foundation. It started 7 years ago now. and there was only one project. It was only OpenStack. And over the last 2 years now, we've started to evolve. We now have 3 confirmed projects, so projects that we hold up to be on the level of OpenStack. So we have OpenStack and Zool and Kata containers are confirmed projects, which we'll get into a little bit more later. And then we have 2 pilot projects, which could be adopted as these top-level projects, but we're still trying to evolve their communities and user bases to bring them up to that level. So we'll get into those details a little more. But OpenStack, as you know, is our primary project, and we continue to support it as much as we can. But the foundation's focus has broadened to be more focused on open infrastructure instead of just OpenStack. So we collaborate with other communities like the Kubernetes community and the OPNFV community to make open infrastructure more available to everyone in the world. So our foundation community is over like 105,000 people, and we span 187 countries. For reference, I Googled yesterday, there are 195 countries, so we cover the majority of the world in terms of involvement in OpenStack and our foundation. Okay. So the OpenStack Foundation is most characterized by our love of the 4 opens, for the love of open, as you may have seen on people's shirts today. So the 4 opens are what guide us in our adoption of new projects and our development of the communities around those projects. So we have the open community, which just means that anyone can contribute. It doesn't matter what company you're from, if you're in university, if you're still in school, or if you aren't employed, that's fine too. We love everyone. Open design means that we collaborate on ideas out in the open. Anyone can participate, and we develop these ideas together as a community before we go and implement them. Open development, when we do go and implement these ideas, we put everything out there in the open. Everybody can review it. You can see the progress that gets made as we find bugs with our testing. The comments and review process is all out in the open, and we think that that's really, really important. And open community, or no, that was the first one. Open source is the last one. The code is available for anyone, anywhere, at any time. We don't develop it internally and then release it. It's not open core. It is out there publicly, readily available all the time. And so these 4 opens are really important because they guide us as a foundation, and they also are interesting to other projects. And that we have one of our pilot projects came to the foundation, and they were interested in being a pilot project under the foundation because of our love of the 4 opens. That was Airship, if you're curious. So, moving into these new projects.
So as Kendall mentioned before, we are a little bit expanding our scope, but not fully. We have not just OpenStack now, but 4 other projects as well under the OpenStack Foundation umbrella. We are basically working with the foundation and with our communities to define and deliver open infrastructure to anyone and everyone around the globe who needs a platform to run infrastructure, have workloads, to provide services to people. So basically, we have to realize, based on our experience with OpenStack, that the software is used in various ways. So saying that OpenStack is something that you can use as a public or private cloud, that's just one very high-level aspect to the software itself. But if you are looking into the workloads of what people are running on top of OpenStack or integrated with OpenStack, you can see a lot of industry segments and focus around the cloud platform as a core, like CI/CD or containers or machine learning in the future, edge computing, NFV. So there are a couple of focus areas where OpenStack is just one component, but not the only component to build your infrastructure. So when we looked deeper into how the software is used and how we can structure the work under the foundation umbrella so it is not confusing to people and OpenStack doesn't get too overloaded. That was what partially was guiding us to the journey of taking on new projects and creating focus areas as opposed to trying to solve everything with or within OpenStack. So that's partially how our projects started to become alive. We had Kata containers being our first pilot project 2 years ago or something like, which was a very interesting journey for us because with OpenStack we've been having a lot of experience with both building software as well as building community around the software, and not just developers but also people who are using it, so users and operators as well. They are just as important as everybody who works on the code itself directly. So we are with all this experience, we took that and we started to build the Kata community, and if I remember correctly, there are talks about Kata as well later today, so you can learn more about that project as well. So our journey basically is kind of working in a way that if someone is interested in running a new project under the foundation umbrella, it will become a pilot project. And our guiding principles, as Kendall explained before, are the 4 opens. So the software itself is only one thing, but what's at least as important, if not more important than that, is that the community that we are building, they are following the 4 opens as guiding principles so that we can build a healthy and sustainable ecosystem around the project itself. And of course, we're also helping the communities to reach out to users and operators to make sure that the software that they are developing can be used worldwide and fulfills the purpose that they were created with. So a few more words about the projects themselves. Is there anyone in the room who's never heard about OpenStack and doesn't know what it is? No. Okay, good. Then we achieved something in the past 9 years. So what you may find still useful information about OpenStack is that as technology evolves, that's true for virtualization and cloud computing as well. So what we are trying to achieve with our community, with the OpenStack community, is to keep it as an innovative environment and help them to evolve the software as the technology evolves. So OpenStack is there not just to run virtualized workloads on top of it, but also containerized or bare metal workloads as well. And again, Kendall mentioned a lot of integration points, like with the Kubernetes community, to make sure that when we have a new technology arriving like containers, then you can use that together with the cloud platform as opposed to creating unnecessary competition within the space that really just doesn't make sense. So we are doing a lot of cross-community collaboration with OpenStack, and what we've also been working with our project teams is to make OpenStack a modular architecture. So you should be able to pick components that you need for your system infrastructure structure and install only those as opposed to the whole, I don't know, 40, 50 projects as a big monolithic piece. So it is really important for us to keep the community and the software as well flexible and evolving. So all these steps towards modularization and working with other communities in different industry segments and technology bits and pieces are all there to make the software evolve and also to maintain the community as a sustainable and healthy ecosystem. And as I mentioned, not just developers, but also users and operators. So if anyone in the room represents that group, please come to us and talk to us. We are really interested in learning how you are using the software, what your experience is. If you have any feedback for us that we can share with the community where they can enhance the software, or what are the things that are working for you, so we know to make sure we keep those things around. So the feedback from all of you is really, really important. And we are really happy to help you to make sure that your feedback gets back to the community. User survey. And we have a running user survey that we don't have the link in the slides, but we can share with you. So again, if you are running the software, we have a survey to learn about how you are using it and what your feedback is. You can fill it out online, and we will dig up the link for you if you're interested in taking it. Just a few more words about OpenStack itself, where it evolved in the past 9 years since the project was created by NASA and Rackspace. You can see how many companies in very different industry segments are using the platform. So again, public and private cloud are really just high-level words here, and you can see like how many ways the software is used all around the globe. It's really a diverse community and a diverse set of companies and organizations as well. And it's not always just commercial use, but there are a lot of universities and academia examples as well who are using OpenStack as an open source tool to help students as well to understand both how the open source ecosystem works and how a cloud platform works. So it's been a really interesting journey for us. The project is still one of the top 3 most active open source projects around the globe. We have a lot of developers around, and what we are really excited about always is to see the local communities and meet with you and making sure that you have the opportunity to join the local community. We know that especially in like Asia Pacific, time zone and language barriers can make it maybe a little harder. So again, we are here to help you and also to learn what your challenges are. So we're really happy to talk to you if you need help to join or understand how the community works. Just a few words about the other projects as well, as you may be interested in learning about all the new things that we are doing. Airship is a deployment and lifecycle management tool. The project was created a bit more than a year ago, roughly around the Vancouver Summit last year in May. The project was created by AT&T, Intel, and South Korea Telecom. So it is a great collaboration between operators and vendor companies. The project is intended to solve like what I like to call second-day problems of, okay, you have a cloud platform like OpenStack and you have like application orchestration tool like Kubernetes, but how do you deploy these things on a large scale and how do you operate them once they are installed? So the communities, OpenStack and Kubernetes, they are working a lot on integration, so that part is supposed to be solved. But when it comes to operating large systems, like AT&T with hundreds or thousands of locations, it becomes really challenging. And our learnings, for example, in the telecom space is that there are still a lot of manual steps that people have to do every single day by hand. And you would think that after 9 years of cloud computing, automation is everywhere, but it's not true. There are still gaps in that space. Those big companies launched Airship last year, and the project already had its first release since then. So you can download the software, try it out, and learn how you can deploy and manage all those components that I mentioned. Airship is building a lot on container technologies. So when it comes to deployment and lifecycle management, we are talking about containerized applications. It is using Helm, for example. So there are a lot of things in it that you probably already know. It's just looking into how this will work and how you can use it for your purposes. Starting X, I will have a talk about it in the afternoon, close to the end of the day, so hopefully you will still have energy to join me and learn more about this project. In a few words, it was brought under the OpenStack Foundation umbrella roughly at the same time as Airship. And Starting X is an integrated platform that is optimized for edge and IoT use cases. I'm sure that edge computing is a big hype and a really popular topic in this region and area as well, just like how it is all around the globe. So Starting X is looking into solving the challenges of edge computing and all those new use cases that the edge computing paradigm is bringing in. So all those new opportunities require a different mindset, an evolved mindset, how you build your platform and how you put it together, how you move computation power closer to the end users. So this is what Starting X is working on. It is using a lot of open source components that are well known, including OpenStack, Kubernetes, Ceph, libvirt, and there's a really long list of integrated components in this project. So again, talk in the afternoon with more details about it. Zool. Zool is an interesting project in the sense of that Zool used to be part of OpenStack. It was one of the components in it. And Zool is a great example of how we say eating our own dog food. So Zool is a CI/CD tool. Basically, that's what the OpenStack community and our other communities as well are using for gating and testing the software daily. So Zool is running a lot of tests for OpenStack. I don't know if you remember the numbers because I didn't look them up, but yeah, tens of thousands.
Zool gets run on every single patch set of every patch that gets pushed to OpenStack. So it's hundreds of patches a day that it runs on.
Yes, and so OpenStack, Zool tests those patches when you propose them, and it tests them again once they are approved. So multiple test cases and test jobs are running on those patches every single day. So we've been testing this tool extensively for the past, I don't know, 6 years or something. We used to use Jenkins, but we realized that we need something that is more scalable and easier to configure for what we would like to use it for. So that's how Zool became the thing. It became a code project and a tool that the community started to develop. It's again free open source software, and it is also a mature project, and it's already a confirmed project under the OpenStack Foundation umbrella, because when it became a standalone pilot project, it really wasn't something that's completely new. We basically wanted to make sure with Zool that as CI/CD is becoming more and more in the spotlight and more important for companies, not just for open source communities, but again, automation is key these days. So we wanted to make sure that people who have the speed, they are able to find a project and pick it up standalone. So we have users and maintainers from companies like BMW or GoDaddy for Zool, and again, we are working on spreading the word that, that the project is a standalone project that you can pick up and use if you need a CI/CD system internally. Kata containers, I mentioned that before as well a couple of times. It's container runtime, so again, we are not focused on just virtualization and virtual machines, but basically trying to cover the whole spectrum of infrastructure. So Kata containers is a project that is bringing you the security of virtual machines and the speed of containers. Basically, it's giving you a really lightweight virtual machine around your container. But when it comes to creating and running the container, it basically behaves like a container or any other containers out there. You can use it with Docker, Kubernetes, all these popular tools and technologies that we have these days. The project was our first new confirmed project, the Foundation umbrella, second half of last year. And again, there's a talk about the project later in the afternoon that you can attend and learn more about this one. And with that, I would like to just circle back to why we are here today and what's one of our main principles for our communities is collaboration. So no one could have done all these things that we mentioned with Kendall during this talk alone. So one of the key things in both open source and what the foundation is embracing is collaboration all around the globe. Creating diverse communities and making sure that everyone who's interested in a particular technology or solution can participate and work together, because it is much easier and much more efficient to work on these items and these projects that are in common need together, as opposed to trying to solve the same problems in parallel, in-house, every single day and spending way more money on both the development and maintenance of software that we all need. So we're here to collaborate on open infrastructure, and I'm giving the word back to Kendall.
Obviously, collaboration is really important, and with collaboration comes community. Community is what gives extra weight and power to open source. It provides more use cases for OpenStack and all the rest of these projects. It's going to be better tested and more used than anything developed in-house, like Build a Code had said. It is going to only continue to grow within the OpenStack Foundation as we add these new projects and build up communities around each one of them, and the value to companies everywhere is only going to increase. So in order to build community, we need to onboard new people. Specifically for OpenStack, these are some of the things that we do to bring people into the community. So we have the Outreachy program, which is an internship program that's hosted by the Software Freedom Conservancy. And OpenStack normally has a few internship positions available to apply for. It's for students. Through the Diversity and Inclusion Working Group, we have a cohort mentoring program. So if you're looking for more support on getting your first patch merged, or getting your first talk submitted and accepted at the summit or some other event, there are people in this mentoring program that can help you out with those things remotely, so you don't need to be there in person. The first contact SIG, which I did not mention when I was introducing myself earlier, I am the chair of the first contact SIG. Our goal with that group is to provide a place to newcomers to help you find the resources you need to get started. So it's more for meeting people and finding out where the documentation exists to answer your questions. And obviously, Upstream Institute, which we've mentioned a dozen times now. It's a very important program that we run before every summit and also at various OpenStack days and Open Infra days around the world. So it'll be tomorrow, and we'll also be hosting it in Shanghai the weekend before the summit. So, hope to see you at the training tomorrow, or maybe in some of these other programs. Shanghai is coming, yay! November 4th through the 6th is when our Open Infrastructure Summit will be happening, and immediately following that is the project teams gathering. So if you're already involved in a project, say Nova or Cinder or maybe Starling X, they will all, many of them will be represented there. And if you have things you want to talk about in terms of implementation, that open design, that's definitely the place to come and bring those topics. We hope to see you in Shanghai. It sounded like there was a 10% discount code for people that were attending. I don't know. But yeah, hope to see you there. Thank you very much.